श्रीराम सरस्वती महाराज को बात की जाए। राम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। मथुरा धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। यमुनामाई की जय। गंगामाई की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishna Vatali Shimata Namo Vishnu Pada Krishna Prishna Vatali Shimata Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaudavina Vicharini Nirvisheshashnavati Prishna Shitanine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter number 2, text 25. From the word for word translation, Tat Vishvanabhim tu Ativartya Vishnoho Aniyasa Virejana Atmana Ekaha Namaskritam Brahma Vidam Upaiti Kalpa Ayushaha Yat vibudaha ramante tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor aniyasa virajanatmanaikah namaskritam brahmavidamupayati kalpayusho yadvib tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor aniyasa virajanatmanaikah namaskritam brahmavidamupayati kalpayusho yadvibudharamante tad vishvanabhim dvati vartya vishnor aniyasa virajanatmanaikah namaskritam brahmavidamupayati kalpayusho yadvibudharamante tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor aniyasa virajanatmanaikah aiti kalpayusho yadvibudharamante
Tadvishvanabhim tvativartya Vishnu
tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor
Aniyasa virajanatmanaikaha
aniyasa virajanatmanaikah
Namaskritam Brahma Vidamupayati
namaskritam brahmavidamupayati
Kalpayusho Yat Vibhudaramante
kalpayusho yadvibudharamante
Tadvishvanabhim tvativartya Vishnor
tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor
Anisa virajanatmanaikah
aniyasa virajanatmanaikah
Namaskritam Brahma Vidamupayati
namaskritam brahmavidamupayati
Kalpayusho yadvibudharamante
kalpayusho yadvibudharamante
Tad Vishvanabhim Tva Atirvatya Vishnor
tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor
Anisa Vira Janatmanaikiha
aniyasa virajanatmanaikah
Namaskritam Brahma Vidamupayati
namaskritam brahmavidamupayati
Kalpayusho Yad Vibhuda Ramante
kalpayusho yadvibudharamante
Tadvishvanabhim tvativartya Vishnor
tadvishvanabhim tvati vartya vishnor
Aniyasa virajanatmanaikah
aniyasa virajanatmanaikah
Namaskritam Brahma Vidam Upaiti
Namaskritam Brahmavidam upaiti.
Kalparsho Yad Vibhuda Ramante.
Kalpayusho yad vibhudharamante. Any devotees online? That Vishvanabhim, navel of the universal personality of Godhead. 2. But Ativartya, crossing over. Vishnoho, of Lord Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Aniyasa, due to mystic perfection. Virajena, by the purified. Atmana, by the living entity. Ekaha, alone. Namaskritam, worshipable. Brahmavidam, by those who are transcendentally situated. Upayati, reaches. Kalpa ayushaha, a period of 4,300,000,000 solar years. Yat, the place. Vibhudhaha, self-realized souls. Ramante, do enjoy. Translation. This Shishumara is the pivot for the turning of the complete universe, and it is called the navel of Vishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. The yogi alone goes beyond this circle of Shishumara and attains the planet Maharloka, where purified saints like Prabhu enjoy a duration of life of 4,300,000,000 solar years. This planet is worshipable even for the saints who are transcendentally situated. Text 26. Yushtadishnyam yadvai paradyam taruparamestyam. Translation. At the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta, from the bottom of the universe. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satya Loka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satya Loka is calculated to be 15,480,000,000,000 years. Report. It is indicated herein that the residents of Maharloka, where the purified living entities or demigods possess a duration of life calculated to be 4,300,000,000 solar years, have airships by which they reach Satyaloka, the topmost planet in the universe. In other words, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives us many clues about other planets far, far away from us, which modern planes and spacecraft cannot. The statements of Srimad Bhagavatam are accepted by great acharyas like Sridhara spotless Vedic authority, and as such, no sane man can ignore the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam when it is spoken by the self-realized soul, Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who follows in the footsteps of his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of all Vedic literatures. In the creation of the Lord, there are many wonderful things we can see with our own eyes every day and night, but we are unable to reach them equipped by modern materialistic science. We should not, therefore, depend on the fragmentary authority of materialistic science for knowing things beyond the range of scientific peer review. For a common man, both modern science and Vedic wisdom are simply to be accepted, because none of the statements either of modern science or Vedic literature can be verified by him. The alternative for a common man is to believe either of them or both of them. The Vedic way of understanding, however, is more authentic because it has been accepted by the acharyas, who are not only faithful and learned men, but are also liberated souls without any flaw of the flaws of conditioned souls. The modern scientists, however, are conditioned souls liable to so many errors and mistakes. Therefore, the safe side is to accept the authentic version of Vedic literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam, which is accepted unanimously by the great acharyas. So Prabhupada makes a short comment of the points here in the translation. But in this purport, Prabhupada mostly describes that intelligent persons who follow the Vedic way of understanding, they're interested in accepting the Vedic version according to the Shastras as it is. And one can save much time by taking this process, because there's so many things, as Prabhupada indicated, there's so many things in this world which we can't understand with our normal range of perception. There's different forms of evidence in the Vedic literature. Evidence substantiates a claim. So we're trying to establish a claim of reality or a version of reality, or establish a paradigm, right? And we can subscribe to that paradigm or that version, right? And there should be some evidence which substantiates that. Substantiates the claims for the Vedic version, right, is most perfectly called Shabda Praman. Shabda Praman, or this word Praman, means evidence, and Shabda means vibration or sound. There's many examples which Prabhupada gives. We'll break these down shortly. He mentions that there's different types of Praman or evidences. As far as I understand, this discussion can be found in the preface to the Sri Ishopanishad, which is actually a lecture from Srila Prabhupada, which is about the Vedas. Prabhupada discusses there that there are different types of evidences which are accepted by intelligent men. one of which is called pratyaksha. There's a verse in the in the Bhagavad Gita, which is chapter 9, text 2, which states, pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam, that this knowledge, this process of bhakti yoga, it's the perfection of religion because it can be directly perceived by self-realization. Pratyaksha. So pratyaksha is direct experience. Normally, pratyaksha refers to, according to the materialistic process of knowledge, gathering or acquiring knowledge with the gross material senses. Sight, smell, taste, touch, and through the ears, hearing it. Now, pratyaksha is fallible. Somebody may be behind a wall, and because I don't see them, I may conclude erroneously that they don't exist. Right? As soon as the light turns off in the room, I cannot see anything in the room. This is, according to my direct experience, right? I don't have good evidence to declare that it actually exists. So on its own, direct experience is not the all in all. Of course, when it comes to experiencing something on the spiritual platform, that type of direct experience is very, very valuable. Because on the spiritual platform, one can directly experience the presence of the Lord through his holy name, the presence of the Lord through the Lord's Krishna Prasadam. The spiritual potency of the pure elevated saints and sages, or of the process of devotional service. And when one has direct experience of such transcendental things, then one can be convinced beyond any doubt. Because nobody has to tell that person that it's a fact. Because he personally has experienced the Lord's mercy, the Lord's grace in his own life. He's personally experienced the potency of devotional service, and he doesn't need anyone to convince him, because he knows, I am a rascal, and somehow or other, by the process of devotional service, I am refraining from those activities which are so impelling to my mind and senses, which are so attractive to my mind and senses. Somehow I am actually refraining from them, and I'm a happy person. The example that Prabhupada gives is, if you eat enough quantity of sumptuous food, healthy food that has been offered to Krishna, nobody has to tell you that you're full. Of course, somebody may have to tell us that, well, you may not be full, but that doesn't mean you should keep eating. Right? Somebody may need to tell us that. But if we're literally to the top with prasadam, nobody has to tell us. Right? We all know. So that's the difference between direct experience on the material platform versus the spiritual platform. We want direct experience on the spiritual platform. That is a fact. But on the material platform, pratyaksha is not a very good evidence because the senses are limited. I may hear somebody, but I may hear incorrectly. I may touch something and I may have some lack of sensation and I may not be able to understand very clearly. Just like there used to be some box and you put your hand in the box and you touch that thing in the box and you're supposed to know what it is. But by touch alone, you don't understand what it is. So sometimes they used to put something in there and it will feel very strange. And they'll give you an idea. Maybe it's a brain. And you put your hand in and you'll think it's a brain inside. Right? So by touch alone, it's limited. So direct experience on the material platform is not perfect. Then there's Anuman, as far as I understand. And this is type of inference. So inference is limited too. It's a hypothesis. Right? I can only, with the power of my mind, I can only go so far. I can only understand in relation to what I have already understood. Just like the frog in the well example. We may say that there is a universe, as this verse is speaking, where there are planets which are habitable for 15,480,000,000,000 years. And the great sages and purified souls take planes and go to that planet when there is a destruction of the universe, because that planet remains for a longer duration of time. And somebody who has material inference, he may say, well, we have planes that move this fast. Maybe their planes move twice as fast. Or they may not be able to even conceive. It's a fact. They will not be able to conceive of that type of a duration of life, because we're nowhere even close to that on this planet. The example that Prabhupada gives is that there's a frog in a well, Dr. Frog. He's a material scientist with many PhDs, and he lives in a well. And somebody goes to him and they say, Dr. Frog, I would love to explain to you about something that I have found. It's called the ocean. It's a vast body of water. It's immense. It's astounding. And Dr. Frog says, is it twice the size of my well? Maybe 3 times the size or 5 times the size of my well. And like this, he cannot conceive of something which is beyond. So his inference, his mental ability to reason the size of the ocean is impossible, because he has limited experience of a small well. Then comes the final and most perfect type of evidence, which is called Shabda Praman. Prabhupada speaks about that in this purport, that the great sages have accepted the Vedas as the most perfect type of evidence. That they have declared that this Vedic evidence is completely superior to all materialistic processes of acquiring knowledge. Because this Vedic evidence, specifically the Srimad Bhagavatam, is called the spotless Purana, Amala Purana. It's free from all dirtiness. It's the spotless history which is delineating or narrating the pastimes of the Lord's devotees, the Lord's various incarnations, culminating in the Lord's personal transcendental pastimes exhibited on the earth planet. This spotless Purana will give light in the age of Kali. And after the Lord personally left this planet of earth, he left behind this transcendental narration to safeguard the religious principles. And in this transcendental literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, we can find those religious principles which will uplift all of humanity and benefit all of living entities all over the planet. In this book, transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only subject matter. This text is not to be speculated on in any type of mundane way. Every verse in this text is meant to encourage and enlighten gradually the reader to the level of pure devotional service, which is the perfection of life and the birthright of every individual soul. So Prabhupada is commenting on these verses which discuss about the end of Brahma's day or Brahma's lifetime, which Brahma's lifetime is discussed in the Bhagavad Gita, that Haryad Brahmano Viduhu, that one day and one night, Sahasra Yuga Paryantam, that 1,000 ages taken together by the human calculation is Brahma's one day, and such also is the duration of his night. 1,000 ages means 1,000 yugas, 1,000 cycles of 4 yugas, right? So calculation has already been done, and that period of time is this final devastation at the end of Brahma's life. But then there's this other place in the universe, the Satyaloka, where one can live for 15,480,000,000,000 years. So when we hear such things, the material scientists may not accept, and the common man doesn't have any way to prove those claims. They don't have any way to prove the claims of the scientists either. So the materialist or the common man may say, well, I'll accept both. Or he may say, I'll accept either one of them. Because actually he doesn't have any way to prove it. But Prabhupada is mentioning, the intelligent way is to accept the Vedas, because the Vedas aren't spoken by any mundane person. They're a Paurushaya. They're superhuman words, superhuman knowledge. Why? Because the Vedic knowledge, including the Srimad Bhagavatam, was written by Srila Vyasadeva. Of course, this was spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami, who followed in the footsteps of his father, Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva is an incarnation of the personality of Godhead and specifically empowered to give this Vedic knowledge in writing in the Sanskrit language, because he knew the lifespan in the Kali Yuga would be short. People would be unintelligent, always disturbed. And we needed something to refer to again and again and again. We needed it down on paper. If we want to remember something, best thing to do is to write it down. It really helps. And if we don't write it down, usually we forget. It's my personal experience. It really happens. So Srila Vyasadeva wrote it all down for our benefit. And he is not standalone. He comes in a line of acharyas. He learned from Narada Muni. Narada Muni's qualification is spoken in the 5th chapter of the 1st canto. He became personally blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and reached perfection by the grace of the sages of whose remnants he had partaken and of whose chanting he had attentively heard without envy. And Narada Muni, we know his qualification. He's the son of Lord Brahma, who personally received realization of Krishna through the sound of Krishna's flute, and who has spoken the Brahma Samhita, which is relished by great sages and acharyas. So all these persons are speaking knowledge which is completely free from all inebrities. And we can see in their persons, they're not addicted to any mundane intoxication, illicit sexual activity, gambling, or any type of meat eating. They're fully imbued with the qualities of mercy, cleanliness, austerity, and what was the last one? And honesty, truthfulness. So we can make a comparison. Do we take the version of the scientists who we may find after a little study? Some of them may be great drunkards or womanizers sometimes, or addicted to different types of sinful activities. How far can that knowledge take us, right? Or do we accept persons who are thoroughly honest and purified by dint of devotional service, and who have given us knowledge in the form of the ancient scriptures? This path has been followed by many people in the past, and we can also become purified by following this path. Vitaraga bhaya krodha. That many persons have become free from greed, or vitaraga bhaya krodha, from attachment, fear, and anger. And so can we. So thank you very much, Tori. I have taken the time. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.